Hello, welcome. My name is Alicia, I go by Tall and Quirky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you guys don't know already, I'm a concept artist and illustrator. Here are some of my stuff. I'm very excited to show you guys my art process and how I do things, and more of like a longer format with more like in-depth explanations. If there's anything that you want to see from me, just put that in the little chat below. Without further ado, let's get to arting. Okay, let's get to this process. Honestly, this is my favorite part of the process, and it's laying out all the flats. What I do is I have a base layer, which is the dark brown layer for my flats, and I clip everything to that layer on Photoshop. And to be honest, this is the most relaxing part of my process, is just kind of getting a feel of how you want this piece to be. Like, I will play around with the hair here and add little hair wispies by doing a bit of a soft brush to the edges, and then adding small hairs to that to add more depth to the piece itself. And honestly, I just find that this is a part where it's just really getting a feel of how I want this to look. There is some mild planning in it, but for the most part, it's just kind of feeling out what works. And it's honestly just very relaxing. It's just nice little calm part before the storm. Personally, I find that if my sketch part is strong, then this part goes off without a hitch. This is the smooth sailing part. If the base, however, is not really grounded in reality, I find that I struggle a bit once adding the flats, because I'm like, this is not how I envisioned this all to come together. Don't understand. But I think with this piece I feel really confident, so I was hitting the ground running with how I wanted this to look. And yeah, it's really it's really feeling good. So here comes another funny part with this piece. I find that the saying of eyebrows are sisters and not twins really does come to fruition here, because as you can see, they're definitely not twins. However, I think that really adds to the realism of the piece. Wink, wink. Not me saying wink, wink. You get my point. It's fine. So once again, we're doing a fade and then adding little hair wispies on. I really do feel that sells the brow look. And again, if you want it to look a little more bushy, you put more little fine hairs in there, and I think that will give that illusion. But this was the brow look I was going for, and I really do think that I nailed it. So the feel that I wanted to sell with this piece was kind of just a light, airy feel, kind of like think Bridgerton going to the ball, kind of just sparkles and sunshine kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me at the time I was like, this is where my mind is going at this point. And I wanted to have just fluff and just airiness and beauty at this time, and that was the goal. And we just kind of went from there. I really try to do a lot of playing around when I do my portraits, to be like, what kind of makeup do we want to do? Do we want to have makeup at all? Are we doing lashes? At this point, you could see I was really like, lashes, yes, let's do them. So usually for this part of the process, sometimes I will go in it with a lasso to put in the eyelashes, but this time I was like, no, I'm gonna try drawing them in. It's been a while, let's do that. So I go in there with a hard round pressure size brush, and then I'll go in with just a regular old hard round usually, to clean up the lashes so they don't look as like brick-like. So that was how we kind of did that. And I do a lot of flipping with my canvas, if you've noticed as well, to kind of make sure that things look great on both sides. I honestly, if you haven't done it already, please set a hotkey for this, because once I've done this, I feel more encouraged to do so. And I'm telling you, there's no other feeling in this world, no greater feeling than when you flip the piece and you're like, I don't remember what side it was on originally. That is when I feel like you won. You're like, okay, the piece is good. We're great. Golden. Leave it at that. Drop the mic. Another favorite part of mine is adding makeup to the piece. This is a fun time. I wanted to add like a graphic liner to this piece, and I was like, ooh, bold color, let's go. Once again, Lasso is your friend. And so with this, I go into it with Lasso, and then I usually clean it up with a hard round brush eraser. And this is me kind of feeling out how I want this to look. I wasn't really sure what was going to be the end result, to be honest. I was like, I knew that I wanted pink. I knew I wanted it to be graphic liner. From there, I was like, anything can happen. So from there, I was kind of playing around with how I wanted it to look. I was like, do I want to add some white liner to this? Do I want to outline it? Do I want to put it like inside? I wasn't quite sure. At this point, I was kind of sold on just having like a thin white line onto it. I was like, this works. This is fine. So from there, I was kind of playing around. I wasn't really sure where we'd end up, but I do like the results that I got. But I honestly think that's a really fun part with the art pieces to add this in. So at this point in time, you're like, whoa, why is she switching this to gray all the time? I don't understand. So the best way I can tell you as to why I do this is to explain why we did this in the first place. So I used to have very muddy pieces. The values were very one note. There wasn't a lot of depth to them. So the way that this was solved is a friend taught me go into Photoshop, go into View, Proof Setup, go into Customs, and then it should have a pop-up of, you can say dot green 10%. That in itself is a godsend because you can work on your stuff non-destructively and still have your colors and not have to worry about, oh no, it's now in black and white forever. What do I do? And you can switch back and forth to your color and your black and white and be able to see, hey, my values, they're a little muddy. You can change that and offset that. So I end up going back and forth to check, be like, if I switch this to the gray, will this still be able to be seen? Because sometimes when you add color into the mix, it's hard to distinct what is really coming through and where is the focus in that piece. So I 100% recommend that. Thank you, Sam. Here she is. Honestly, with Photoshop, you learn something new every day. So 10 out of 10 advice. Do it. It's really great for checking the values for your piece. Okay, so here is my favorite part of doing a piece. I take back what I said initially. Call me a liar. I take it back. This, my favorite part, is adding shadows to a piece. And this is how you can do shadows super, super easy, or at least a bit of a faster way to do your shadows. And this is the way that I do it. There are obviously other ways to do it, but this is my favorite way to go about it. So right now I'm lassoing the shape that I want my shadows to be in. I usually go with an Asaro head. I'll put a link below of the head that I use for this example, for the shadow. And so I lasso the whole shape. I add little pockets of shadow where I want things to be. I check it. Is that 100%? That's way too dark of what I want to do. I also go back into it of like, oh, I missed the chin. Let me go into that one as well. And after that, I usually lighten up the shadow a smidgen for where I want to go. If I want it to be really intense, I'll put it up higher for the opacity. If I don't, I'll put it lower. If I want it to be more of a soft shadow. But honestly, if I can recommend anything, this is a really fun way to play with shadows. It's very undestructive. It's on another layer. It's on multiply. Multiply is your friend. And then you go from there. So it's multiply, lasso that shape that you want for the shadow. Usually for night, I go for like a blue. Very simple, and then fill, and you are good to go. You can soften up the edges with a soft eraser, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, and this is what I use for a lot of my pieces. I honestly love doing this, so yeah, I take it back. This is my favorite part of the process. for the hair part, I usually go in with my pencil brush to then go into some of the hairs, add a bit more volume to it. And I think it really adds, again, more dimension to the piece, makes it look nice, fluffy and fresh, and 10 out of 10 would recommend. I'm just saying. I also use the Gradient Paint Bucket tool as well to add a little bit more of a soft feel to the shadows. The idea with this one is it's a top-down lighting, so I wanted to have a nice fall off of shadow and recommend. And then another way to get it more intense with your shadows, go on top of that multiply layer, add another one, and then go in again with the color that you were using for your initial shadow and add little pockets of more shadow. Now, technically, for me to say that, I could say it's a core shadow. Technically, it's not. It's not at all. It's just more. This is more for my aesthetics at this point. At this point, some maybe yes, but a lot of it it's not. It's very much for the aesthetics. So 10 out of 10 recommend. I'm just adding more shadow on shadow on shadow. And as you can see, it's like, okay, now the face is coming out at you versus very flat. And I think that this really adds some flavor to the piece. You know, it's very good, very good, very part of the process. I also feel like I feel like I'm very nitpicky. So at this point, you can see me noodling around a little bit of trying to feel of what feels right and what doesn't. So a lot of those shadows, I'm going back and forth of what I want and where and how I want to do it. Because this part, a lot of it, I'm kind of going with a bit of a feel. I do have a base I'm going off of, which I do have in the chat below, the Asaro head that I'm going off of. But at this point in time, it's just me trying to feel what feels right with the piece and where I want to go. And I think at this point in time, I was just like, I don't know what else I want to add with this piece, but something feels missing. Something is not right. And I wasn't really sure at this point what I wanted to do with it. I was like, something, it still feels kind of bland. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll add the ring in the lights. Maybe that will give it. I put it in, didn't like it. I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. We're gonna have to remove this. And then going from there, I was like, okay, I think I like this glossy look for the eye. By the way, I don't know if you guys have the same problem, but I have different ways that I like to add a little shine to the eyes. I'm very particular about it. Before, I used to do the ring lights for everything, and I think I still do it for like more of my cyberpunk pieces. But as for recently, I'm very I like a glassy eye look, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I'm at. I feel like there's like different vibes, like you go up and down for what you're feeling, but this is where I'm at in my art journey right now. I'm like, no more ring light, now glassy eyes is kind of how I'm going. So I don't know if anyone else has the same feeling. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm still like, oh no, what do I want this to be? What is missing? I was like, do I want to give her zombie eyes? Zombie eyes could be cool, but I settled on kind of color shifting the hair, I was like, huh, I think this really gives me the fluffy and cloudy and just kind of just like a fun regal vibe that I was going for. And I'm so happy that I made that choice. Again, color hue, your best friend. But because I'm still checking my values, it doesn't feel like it's not cooperating with everything else. I felt like this still did work very well together, and I'm really happy because I love the pink, the blue. They all kind of marry in this little happy circle of alting, if you will. That makes no sense, but go with it. So at this point I was like, oh no, am I missing anything else? So I'm still doing a little bit of tweaks and touch-ups of the shadows. Again, lassoing little shapes. I'm like, let me add a little pocket here, a little pocket there. Also, I have my swatches open so I don't forget what my colors were used for said shadows, because I do forget. I've had that happen, and then I have to swap it all the way back to 100% for the opacity, switch it back to normal, click, find what the color is, and then go back. Don't do that. Use swatches. They're your best friend. And we're keeping that. Use swatches. But now we're reaching the third part of the installment of the tall and quirky art process. And at this point in time, I am adding little lights to my glowing pearls throughout the hair. I don't know if I'll also explain this, but to do the glowing for the pearls, I once again use the helpful tools that are in my Photoshop, and I right click, go to blending options, and I choose add or glow. From there, you can choose what glow you want it to be and how strong, what the opacity is like, and what have you. That is how I did that, and it's very helpful. But I want to add some more dimension to it, so I very meticulously added little pieces of white on top of these pearls. I lassoed every single one of them. Could I have drawn it in and it would have been faster? Probably, but you know, hindsight is 2020. So that's how I went on with that. But this is like the noodle, kind of the noodling phase of my piece, where I'm kind of just going throughout the piece, up, down, left, right, side to side, of what I feel is missing and where we can add little bits to make it pop, you know? So this part is a lot of back and forth. I'm doing a lot of flipping, a lot of switching it up to the gray, to the black and white, to see if I'm missing anything, and going from there. I want to have this part really solid before I add any fancier details, i.e. like a lighting on the face, like little shiny bits, if you will, onto the face. And then also I'm trying to figure out what background is gonna make this pop. I was going with a flat color for the background. I don't want to do anything crazy, so this is what I want to kind of go for this piece, and have fun with it and see how far we can push it. At this point, I am taking a desaturated, lighter skin tone for the highlights for this piece. I I feel like this part is very on autopilot. I know it's bad. Don't do as I say with this one. Definitely double check. But I was having a lot of fun with this piece, so I was like, why not? Let's just kind of see where we feel it should be, and then go from there. I want it to be very simple, so I didn't want to go crazy with it, because sometimes I add, my cheek highlights and woo, but I think this worked out very well. So I go in there with usually my lasso tool, and then I'll fade it so it's not too harsh. And then sometimes I go in there also with my hard round opacity tool as well. That's one of the basic brushes on Photoshop, nothing crazy. And then go from there and see how I feel about it. At this point I was like, not feeling this. Nixed it, gone. And then put some on the collarbone. I think I faded that yes I did fade it really well. It's funny because I'm watching this in real time and recording this, so I am like, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I see that I fixed it. Good stuff, So at this point in time, I am doing a lot of flipping, a lot of checking, seeing if I still like it if I flip it. Again, such a satisfying feeling is when you flip it and you like it both ways. and you don't know which side you started from. In this case, I'm not gonna lie to you, I know which side it originally was supposed to be. I think it's because I had the way I have the highlight on the nose, but you know what? I came pretty close, and I think that's good. I did want this extra glowy, so I added pure white onto some of these highlights, but you want to add it just very faintly, very faintly, so it's nothing distracting from the piece. And then from there, I go into levels to adjust the colors, because I looked on to my color chart and it was very dark. So to make sure when I print this and send this out to my Patreons that the print itself is not going to be like hard to see, I end up going to levels to change that while still keeping the values of the piece and the color tones of the piece. So at this point I want to give, again, more of a night feel, so it's a little bit more blue in tone, but again, nothing crazy. And yeah, from there I'm just kind of playing around with the final. So I'm adding some glow, I'm adding some lights, seeing how I feel, because when I tell you I wanted this to feel like a fantasy, I did. And that's the process. And that, my friend, is the end. Thank you so much for sticking it through this video and watching the process of how I do art. So I hope you have a lovely day. Be safe, drink some water, stay hydrated, and have a good day. And if you'd like to have a print like this for yourself, shipped to you, join my Neon tier for Patreon in the link below. Enjoy and have a good day. Bye.